This is day 3 of the Front Sight Firearms Training Institute Precision Rifle 4-day course. If you chose to go on the 2-day course, this is what you didn't do. And this is where a lot of the fun is, especially the 4th day. But this is a great day. So we arrived at the range and they said, leave your firearms in the vehicles because we're going to the doors. Now if you went to the 4-day handgun course, then this will look familiar to you because you do the same exercise with handguns. You still approach the door carefully. You still thrust the door open and step back, keeping your weapon pointed in a downward position. And then you start slicing the pie. All of that is the same whether you're using a rifle or a handgun. Just keep taking those small steps till you go ahead and slice the pie all the way through the door opening. And then you quickly go through the door, looking both directions, keeping the rifle in control, having it point down for all the reasons why they tell you to do that. The one thing that they told us after we're doing this exercise is if you ever have to clear a room by yourself, don't. Because it's just too dangerous. When you see this on the movies or you see this with SWAT teams, they're simply outmanning, outpowering, outgunning the bad guys in there by having 5 or 10 people come through the door. You've got to be in a pretty critical situation, very critical situation, for you to do this by yourself, because you are putting yourself right in the fatal funnel which you see Ben here right now. So their advice is, unless you absolutely have to, life and death, you call law enforcement and let them clear the house. I think that's very good advice. That led us to the next exercise, and that is close encounters. For example, you're standing, you're holding your rifle, and somebody approaches you very quickly. You don't have time to bring it up to the ready, sight in, and so forth. You have to be able to learn to shoot on the quick. And you can do that actually without ever bringing the rifle up and aiming through the sights. You can see here that the instructor has the rifle perfectly level, is in complete control of the rifle, and knows exactly where that bullet's going to go. That's what we needed to practice. So we get out on the range, and here we are practicing exactly what they just showed us and explained to us. They took all the time, they answered all the questions, but it is surprising how many people missed the target in this quick response mode. This is definitely something that you need to practice, because the muzzle is not where you think it is the first time you pull that trigger. This is a very good exercise. I don't have pictures of everything that they taught us and all the instruction because I'm involved in the instruction and not thinking of taking pictures all the time. After we did the quick response drill, we went to the highlight of the day for me, and that is going down the range. Here we are at the 50-yard range, and I have these sequenced just so you can kind of get a feel of the distance you're looking at and what kind of distance you're going to be firing from. So here's Ben at the 50-yard line. Here is Ben at the 100-yard line. Here is Ben at the 200-yard line. And here is Ben at the 400-yard line. As you notice, he has a spotter next to him. That's one of the instructors who has some binoculars, and he's telling Ben how he's doing. He's telling Ben high, left, low, so forth, whatever the situation was. The deal here was you get 5 shots, or after you get 3 on target, you're over. He got 3 out of 6. They gave him an extra shot so he could get his 3 in. So he got 3 out of 6. And he's shooting a red dot. I think it's a MOA 2. So I think he's got a size 2 red dot. And he said that just completely, entirely covered the entire target. And what was great is that we're shooting at steel targets at 400 yards. So you'd shoot and you'd wait and you'd listen. He did very well with a red dot sight, no magnification. When I got down, the gentleman to my right was an older gentleman, probably in his 60s. He was shooting an AR-15 with iron sights, and he got 3 out of 5, which I thought was very impressive. A couple people down to the left of me were shooting an, I think it's called an ICOG, very expensive. I think the scope costs more than the rifle. They got 3 out of 5. I got up on the line and I shot 3 out of 4 with 4.5 magnification. First one was high. He called it was high. I dropped down. I have different measurements, marks on my scope, and I just dropped down to the next line, and then I hit the next 3 center target on the steel target. It was awesome. You can spend $2,500 on a scope, or you can spend $1,500 on sights. You can spend a couple $100s on sights, or you can use iron sights. The lesson here is you are the weapon, the gun is the tool. I'm in my 50s, and so I wanted magnification, but I realized with the proper training, shooting at 400 yards is not a problem at all. After I was done with this exercise, I was very confident that I could reach out and stop the bad guys far enough away to give me a tactical advantage, instead of waiting for them to come into 200 or 100 yards, and then it's just basically a gunfight. Here I'd have a chance to stop them, make them think twice again, and give us time to get in position if we were ever in that situation. And it also showed me how important it is to accurately sight in your gun and be able to make the adjustment for the long shots. I'm really glad that we did this. So again, you don't need to take a scope, you don't need to take sights, you don't need to spend a lot of money on modifications. A 60-year-old plus gentleman with iron sights shot as good as somebody with a $1,500 ACOG. You are the weapon, the gun's the tool. Those are Ben's 3 shots at 100 yards. I know that it was taken at 100 yards because I asked him to use one finger to remind me that he was at 100 yards. You can only see 2 holes because he put 2 bullets through 1 hole. Awesome shooting, Ben. I wanted to show this picture. Here we're at the 50-yard line. Nothing significant here, but I wanted to show this picture because this is the 3rd day. If you remember, I mentioned yesterday that there were so many things wrong with how I was positioned in the prone position the day before. Here, everything is lined up. I took the advice that they gave me, and it made all the difference in the world. I was able to continue to get shots off, continue to be accurate. I've never been trained to line up the way that they line me up here in the prone position, but it makes a whole lot of sense. Now, I am doing one thing that they did not recommend, and that is having the magazine on the ground. I found for me that particular position worked best, and so I stayed with that position, even though I am going to work on not having the magazine on the ground. So keep in mind that you paid for their opinion, you paid for their training, you paid for their advice, you paid for their help, and get what you paid for. Listen to what they have to say. They're there to help. They do a great job. They are sincerely interested in your success. Frontsight does a great job in hiring the right people with the right attitudes and the right approach. We had a great day on the 3rd day. Very fond memories, great confidence builder, great skill builder, great time. We only had 1 day left, day number 4 coming up tomorrow. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if ye are prepared, ye shall not fear. And if you take advice from these great instructors, your skill level will go through the ceiling. You really will be better than 90% of law enforcement and military personnel.